Just how many voices are inside your head?
Oh, you know, when I do it, it really is whatever voice is being required of me. So right now, it's unfortunately for many, it's Nick Kroll. But when I'm doing Big Mouth, it really is kind of whatever one I happen to be doing. Sometimes there are scenes where I'm doing multiple voices at once, so I guess I'm holding all of those voices in me. And I guess most of the characters on some level represent some part of me, version of me, for good or bad.
Now, in terms of being funny, when did you know that you had that ability? Because my wife to this day tells me I'm not funny. So, when did you learn that you were funny?
I'm the youngest of I'm the youngest of four, and so I think my siblings, I was whether I was funny or not, I was there to entertain, even though sometimes it was not. It was more just as the butt of the joke. I think I always thought I was pretty funny. I think if you ask my high school friends, my family, they people would be like, yeah, he's pretty funny. Like I don't know if he's like professionally funny. But again, I created Big Mouth with Mark Levin, Jen Flack, and Andrew Goldberg, who he and I have been friends since we were best friends in middle school, and we became friends in first grade. So I think we have found each other funny for well over 30 years now. And somehow we've now convinced Netflix and others to allow us to be funny elsewhere.
So, I guess, what are the origins of Big Mouth? Because, like, it seems to me this is just like you and Andrew living like a dream. Like in elementary school, you all came up with this, and now you're actually getting to do it. So, what were the
Yeah,
origins?
Andrew and I literally have known each other since we were children, and we would do sketches together, like little Wayne's World talent show sketches, and all this kind of stuff. And then we did our own things, went to different high schools, and then but always stayed friends, and then reconnected to do Big Mouth. And it really is a dream to make something with your lifelong friend. It's kind of like I'm always jealous of like sibling teams, like the Duplass brothers, whoever, who like they have this like shared mind, like they're two people. So they have but they have this very shared life experience that they can then turn into movies and TV, and that's kind of how it's felt working with Andrew all these years. Is we share same reference points. And Big Mouth obviously started in talking using our life experience as the basis for the show, and the characters Nick and Andrew that are loosely based on us continue to be important parts of the show. But what's been great is building this show with the base of this relationship between these two boys, but then beginning to expand it well out of our experience, and start to tell all these other kids' stories and experiences, which as you get into further seasons, you really need to do to keep a show moving. And so that's been actually one of the great joys of making the show is starting to tell stories beyond just the ones that we had growing up.
Now, when you set out to do the show, and you did it with Netflix, and you obviously had certain characters in mind, did you have certain people that you had in the back, like these are the people I want in these particular roles, or do you just get lucky? And the reason why I'm asking is this: you couldn't have picked a better cast of people with such a vocal range to come to Big Mouth. And that's part of the appeal, in my opinion, of
Yeah.
the show, is that the voices are so rich and colorful and so entertaining, not to mention, of course, your spectacular talents as well. So I guess my question is, how did it all come together?
Well, thank you. Truthfully, it was, I will figure out ways to humble brag at times, and then I will find ways to straight up brag. And I will brag by saying, I have incredibly talented friends, and so we cast the majority of the show from my phone. We before we made the show, we made a little pencil test, where it was just like a 2-minute sort of proof of concept, and we had on that we had Jenny Slate and Jordan Peele and Maya Rudolph and Fred Armisen. We're all on that like 2-minute pencil test. Fred and Maya, I think, did a voice recordings from their phone and sent it to us because it was just a proof of concept. And then truly, like, the show is an assemblage of many of my closest friends from the beginning of comedy. John Mulaney and I have known each other since college and have been friends and worked together on many things. When Jenny was on the show, Jenny and I had known each other for a long time. Jason Mantzoukas is one of my closest and dearest friends, and we met doing Upright Citizens Brigade in New York many, many years ago. Jesse Klein and I have known each other. Started doing comedy together in New York, and Maya Rudolph and Fred Armisen I got to know a little bit later, but have known for quite some time, and Jordan Peele as well. We've known each other a while and both had shows on Comedy Central, and then the extended cast, has been a mix of things, of people casting, like Andrew Rannells, who plays Matthew on the show, has been a friend for a while, and so we kind of build it out from there if we have a personal connection to someone. But then now we've expanded it out to, like, I was not dear friends with David Thewlis, who plays the Shame Wizard, but we took a chance and sent it to him, and he bit and was great. On season 4, this season that just aired, or aired now, I guess in October. I feel like we've been in a I guess a global pandemic that has led us to not have any sense of time or reality. But let's see, Zach Galifianakis I've known for a long time, who plays the Gratitoad, and Maria Bamford, when we wrote this season, focuses on anxiety, and Tito the Anxiety Mosquito. And Maria Bamford I've known for a long time through comedy, and we've worked together a few times, and she's just the funniest, and couldn't think of a better voice to embody the concept of anxiety. And then other people we've just hired. Oh, Seth Rogen is a guy who I've been friends with for a while and worked together, and he said that he liked the show and felt like he would be a perfect, like, kind of camp friend. But like Sterling K. Brown, I had met once or twice but didn't know, and he's got a nice guest star arc on the show. And so it's really a combination of people that we've been friends with, and our casting director Julie Ashton finds people, and then we just write to people, and sometimes they're like, now the show is kind of well known enough that Paul Giamatti plays an impacted a poop monster, let's just call him. And I didn't know Paul Giamatti, but I guess his son had watched the show, and so he was sort of more keen to do it. And it's really great. It's a combination of lifelong friends and people who we're huge admirers of, and who will randomly say yes.
So if I become friends with you, there's at least a 75% chance I could get a part on Big Mouth.
Yeah, I'd say so. 70 to 85%. I mean, all my friends pay me money to be on the show. There's a fee. It's a finder's fee. I act as their agent, is what I like to say. But it's great. I mean, it's also like, it's a show about friends, and so
Sure.
The more that we know the people, I mean, but also random. You don't need to be friends, but for that core group, especially early on, it was just wonderful to have actual friends, and also went before the pandemic. As much as possible, we would record together. There was always stuff that comes out, so whenever I can, I'm recording with Maya or Jason or John, and when our characters interact, and there's always stuff that comes out of it.
What's your favorite voice that you do?
I mean, the annoying answer is whatever voice I'm doing at the time, because I really do love all of the characters. I mean, the most pleasing has been the evolution of Lola, I think, who the first season people were like, oh, she's annoying or whatever, but I think I've always really loved her, and I've always had a lot of empathy for her, and she seems to have grown in popularity, and weirdly, I'll get a text from my nephew being like, Lola is trending all over TikTok right now, and so it's just a very funny thing. So I do love Lola. I really enjoy improvising as Lola, and yeah, I mean, but I kind of love doing all of them. But Lola right now. But I get to play a variety of between Lola and Maury the hormone monster and Rick the hormone monster and Coach Steve. All are very fun, silly, like can really run away with ideas. And Nick is ironically somewhat the hardest character to voice for me because it's my own. But
Why?
well, I think it's because it's slightly it's the most autobiographical, and so the things that I went through as a kid and still am dealing with now as an adult, come up through Nick, and he's um, it's the hardest, like it's the hardest mirror, it's the mirror that you have to put up to be able to write about yourself and poke fun at yourself and not be so protective of the character, like I get protective of him, I guess in a way of as a way of sort of protecting myself. But in that way, it's actually been incredibly therapeutic doing Nick and specifically season 4, which deals obviously with anxiety, but Nick meets his future self, Nick Starr, in the future, um, dealing with stuff that was sort of like, oh, I guess I am still dealing with intimacy issues, and we'll make it an insane episode, but there's a lot of it is drawn from not only the stuff that happened to me when I was 13, but also as like a man trying to grapple with like what kind of man do I want to be now.
Is the writing process on the show therapeutic for you in some respects, because you're going through some of your life and what you deal with on a daily basis? And I'm just curious.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think obviously for me, it's since I play one of the Nick is at the center of the show, but I think for all of us, and I think I hope and believe for the writers as well, we're bringing up so much stuff from our own lives and both past and present, and for me, it's an incredibly at times difficult, but really therapeutic process because, and I would like, there's stuff that I was dealing with in therapy that I would then be like, hey, this is this thing that I seem to be afraid of. And I'd bring that to the room. And then we'd come up with a plot point in the room. And then I'd go back to therapy and talk to my therapist, like, so I think like, this is a thing that we're doing in the show. And maybe that sort of explains a little bit about what I've been going through or trying to understand. And so, yeah, I feel really very, very lucky that I get to use my show, my art, whatever, to deal with all the, the specifically, because I think part of the reason that the show works for not only for kids who are watching it, who are going through puberty or just went through it, but also adults who are years past it. There's so many things that happen to us in puberty that are so formative and foundational for the rest of our lives of who we are. I can't tell you how many times I talked to someone who's like, oh my God, some boy said that I had like short legs in high school and I've never forgotten that. And that's why I never wear shorts, or like things like that are so, I mean, and that's a small thing, let alone like, did you hit puberty young? Did you not hit puberty? Were you a late bloomer like I was? Like, and how much that has an effect on who you become, and the choices you make and the partners you choose and all that stuff. So I think that stuff's really hugely important to the show, but also for me personally has been an important way for me to better understand myself. And I think for a lot of our writers to kind of process our, because it's, puberty is such a weirdly traumatic, bizarre time in life.